Hello everyone, it's Glenda and welcome back to Creative Grandma. Today's crochet tutorial is for the Secret Santa bag. This adorable little crochet bag you can fill with all kinds of goodies. It measures 6.5 inches across by 10.5 inches high, or 12 inches high if you add that pom-pom. It's just a cute way of putting some goodies in a cute handmade crocheted Secret Santa bag and giving to friends, family, and co-workers. So this is the front, and then on the back you can see how we have a drawstring that you can untie, open the bag, fill it full of goodies, and then gather that up and tie it in a bow, and it's just a really cute, adorable project for the holidays. So I want to give Lion Brand a special thank you for supplying the yarn for this video. So thank you, Lion Brand, for supplying the Vanna white yarn to make this project. So let me go over the yarn and the material list that you're going to need to make this project. For this project, I chose Vanna's Choice by Lion Brand. This is 100% acrylic. It's a 4 medium weight yarn. It's a 3.5 ounce skein, 100 grams. It's 156 meters. It is a machine wash and dryable yarn. It's made in Turkey, and it's just a really nice soft acrylic that I just thought the colors were perfect for this project. So you're going to need one skein of color number 113 Scarlet, and I'll have the material list in the description box underneath this video, along with the link that you can click, and it'll take you right to Lion Brand to the Vanna's Choice yarn if you would like to make the project and use the same yarn. You're also going to need one skein of number 100 white, one skein of color 101 pink, and then you're only going to need a few yards of green. So if you have a green on hand, or you can order the green, it's color number 172 Kelly green. So just several yards of that, because all we're doing is making the little leaves. And then you're just going to need about a 24-inch piece of black 4-weight yarn for the eyes. We're just going to embroider the eyes in, and that's color number 153 black. So we're using a total of 5 different colors in our Santa bag. You're also going to need a yarn needle for sewing in those applique pieces onto the bag, and you're going to need a size H8 or 5 millimeter crochet hook for this project. So let's jump right in and let's get our project started. I already have my yarn attached to my hook, and I just used a double knot. You could use whichever method you prefer to join your yarn. We're going to begin our project, and we're going to chain 20. You're going to yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook, and this creates your first chain. The loop on your hook does not count as a chain. So we're going to begin, and we're going to chain 20. So that's 1, yarn over, pull through, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So now we have our 20 chains, and we're getting ready to start round 1. We're going to work 1 single crochet into the second chain from hook. You're going to skip that first chain, insert into the second chain, work a single crochet. Insert into the next chain, work a single crochet. Yarn over, pull through that chain, you have 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. That's a single crochet. So you're going to continue and work 1 single crochet in each chain across to within that last chain. So go ahead and continue and work 1 single crochet in each chain across to within the last chain. Do not work in the last chain. I'll be back and show you how to turn the corner. I'm over at the end of the chain and we have one chain remaining. I worked one single crochet in each chain across, starting in the second chain. So now when you get to the last chain, we're going to work 3 single crochet into this chain, and it's going to take us around the corner, and then we're going to work on the bottom of our chain. Insert into that last chain, work 3 single crochet. 1, insert back into that same last chain, work a single crochet. That's 2, and you're just going to move your work as you go. Insert back into that same last ending chain, work a single crochet. So it takes you right around the corner, and you already worked in the first chain going across the bottom. So now we're just going to repeat and work 1 single crochet in each stitch across the bottom until we get back to that beginning chain where we started the round. Insert into the next chain, and I'm taking that piece of yarn where I started my chain and I'm working right over top of it, working a single crochet, and it weaves your end right in your work. Insert into the next chain, and if you're new and you're not sure, just follow that stitch right down to the base of the stitch, and that's where the chain will be. Work a single crochet. Insert into the next chain, work a single crochet. So go ahead and continue and work 1 single crochet in each stitch around until you get back to that beginning single crochet. I'll meet you there and I'll show you how to finish round 1. I'm over at the end of round 1. We have 1 chain remaining. This is our beginning single crochet. So if you're new to crocheting, it sometimes confuses you when you're starting to work in the round for the first time. So when you look at your work, you can flip it over and you can see we worked underneath this single crochet and we have 1 single crochet remaining. We have a chain 1 here that we skipped when we started the round, so don't let that confuse you. You're going right into the base of this chain here. So you're going right into the base of this very first single crochet. You can tell that's a stitch because it looks like a teardrop. So now I'm going to flip it back over on the bottom. And because this is the last chain across, we're going to end the round with 2 single crochet into the same chain as that beginning single crochet. So insert into that last chain across, work 2 single crochet. 1 and 2. So round 1 is finished. This is what your work should look like, and you should have a total of 40 single crochet around the complete round 1. So now we're getting ready to start round 2. We are not going to join our round. We are going to mark the beginning of each round from this point. So you're going to need a stitch marker or just a piece of yarn. So to begin round 2, if you're more experienced at crocheting, you're going to go ahead and single crochet 1 single crochet in each of the next 19 stitches. So let's begin. You're going to insert into that first single crochet, work a single crochet. That's 1. I'm just going to take my hook out and I'm going to mark this stitch. I'm just using a piece of green yarn that I can just pull up in each round. So that was 1 of 19. Now remember, this is going to pull towards the right, so this stitch was already worked in. You're going to go into the next stitch, work a single crochet. That's 2. Insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet. That's 3. I'm just going to go ahead and work and count them. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. So now when you look at your work, you'll see you're right at the very edge of your turn. You worked one single crochet in 19 stitches, and now we're going to work 3 single crochet into this next single crochet. Insert into that next stitch, work 3 single crochet, 1, insert back into that same stitch, work your second single crochet, insert back into that same stitch and work your third single crochet, and it just helps form your corner of working around your work. So now we're just going to do that again. We're going to single crochet in each of the next 19 stitches. Insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet, that's 1. Insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet, that's 2. Insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet, that's 3. Continue until you worked a total of 19 stitches, so 16 more single crochet stitches, and then I'll meet you at the corner and show you how to do the corner. So again, work 1 single crochet into the next 16 stitches, and I'll meet you there. I'm over at the end of round 2. I just worked 1 single crochet in each of those 19 stitches across, and you have 1 stitch remaining, and then you have that beginning stitch. So we're going to end round 2 by working 3 single crochet into the very last stitch around. Insert into that last stitch, work 3 single crochet, 1, insert into that same stitch, work your second single crochet, insert into that same stitch and work your third single crochet. So round 2 is finished, and now we're going to start round 3, which round 3 and round 4 will be our repeat row for making the textured beard. So again, we are not going to join any round. We're just going to keep moving that stitch marker up with the beginning of each round. So let's begin. So we're going to start right off the bat with our repeat. So if you need help, you're going to click back on the video to where I say this is the start of the repeat for round 3. Work until I say this is the end of the repeat, and you're going to repeat that around to the end of the round. So let's begin. You're going to insert into that first stitch, work a single crochet. Go ahead and move that stitch marker up. This is why I like to use the yarn. I just grab the yarn and pull it through that stitch, the first stitch of the beginning of the round. And now we're going to work a double crochet into this next stitch. Yarn over, insert into that next stitch, yarn over and pull through. You have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. You just made a double crochet, and that is the end of the repeat. Very simple repeat. So if you're a more experienced crocheter, you can go ahead and work ahead. You're going to work a single crochet into the next stitch, a double crochet into the next, and you're just going to repeat that around to the end of round 3. So let's continue. You're going to insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet, and what's going to happen is you see your little Santa bag is already starting to gather together, and it's going to pull in to create the sides of the bag. So it's going to start forming that curve shape. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch, work a double crochet. And that is the end of the repeat. So let's do it a couple more times. Single crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next stitch, and that is the end of the repeat. Single crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next, single crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next. And that's all there is to round 3. So go ahead and continue. Work 1 single crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next, repeat that around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 3. I'm over at the end of round 3. This is what our work should look like. And you can see the bottom is still kind of flat. Our sides and corners are starting to form and pull up to form our little bag. And the more we work, the more the side's going to come up and it will start looking like our little Santa bag. So at the end of round 3, you ended with a double crochet, and I just want to point out that here is your first stitch. This was your last stitch that you worked in, and you can see how that stitch is still really pulling to the side of the work. And this is normal because we're trying to gather this to form it into a bag. So we're going to do a couple more rounds, and then that will get to the point where it won't be so far over. But what you have to be careful of is when you do that last stitch, pay attention that you do not work another stitch in that stitch, because this double crochet is so far to the side it almost looks like you still have another stitch when you do not. So pay attention to that. So this pattern, for the stitches to come out correctly, whatever stitch you end with, if it's a double crochet, you're going to start the next row with a double crochet. When you do the next row, you're going to end with a single crochet, and you will start with a single crochet, because as you can see, we're working a single crochet and a double crochet. So when we start with the double crochet, we're working a double crochet into the single, and then we'll work a single into the double. And then the next round, we're going to reverse. So I hope I didn't just confuse you. So let's just go ahead and do it, and then you'll see what I mean. So this is the start of round 4. You're going to yarn over, insert into that first stitch where your stitch marker is, work a double crochet. And then I'm just going to pull my hook out, grab my yarn, and then I just pull that yarn up and pull it right through that stitch. And then as I go up, I can just pull it from down here right up through. We're going to single crochet into the next stitch, and again, make sure you're not going into the same stitch because those stitches are still pulling to form this corner. So skip the stitch you just worked in, insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet, and again it's going to kind of pull it down and help form that corner. So now we're going to do the repeat. You're going to yarn over, insert into the next stitch, work a double crochet, insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet, and that is the repeat. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch, work a double crochet, insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet, and that is the end of the repeat. So let's do it again. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch, work a double crochet, insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet. So go ahead and continue. Work 1 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 single crochet into the next stitch, repeat that around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 4. I'm over at the end of round 4. This is what it looks like. You can see how now it looks almost like a little canoe, and you can see how your corners are starting to come up and form the bottom of our little Santa bag, and we're forming his beard. So at the end of round 4, you're going to have a stitch count of 44 stitches around. When you got to the end of round 4, you're going to end with a single crochet. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to click back on the video, and you're going to repeat rounds 3 and 4 a total of 5 more times. and that will take you to the end of round 14. So click back on the video to where we began the start of round 3. Repeat rounds 3 and 4 5 more times, and then I'll meet you at the end of round 14. I'm back. I'm over at the end of round 14, and when you look at your work, this is what it's going to look like. You are starting to form your little Santa bag. We just got his beard finished. You're at the end of row 14. You ended with a single crochet stitch, and then there's our stitch marker. So let me grab a tape measure and just give you an idea of the size of this so far. We measure about 6.5 inches across, and we measure about 4.5 inches from the bottom to the top. Now this is just a rough measurement. You may be a little off depending on how you stitch, if you stitch tighter or if you stitch looser. So now what we're going to do is we are going to join our yarn with a slip stitch into the top of that beginning double crochet where we have our stitch marker. Insert your hook into the top of that double crochet, yarn over, pull through that stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. I'm going to fasten off my white, and I like to leave a little bit longer length just so I can weave that in really good on the back. Now when I fasten off, I chain 2. 1, 2. I pull my hook up, pull the yarn out, grab the yarn, grab, pinch, pull down, and it creates a secure knot. And then you're just going to use your yarn needle, turn it over on the wrong side, and you're just going to weave it across several stitches, bring it back, and then take it through a third time to really secure that end if you have a long enough length. So I'm just going to let my end hang back in the back, and I'm going to go ahead and start round 15. So now we're going to start with the pink to form Santa's face. So I'm just going to grab my pink. Now what I do is I just tie my yarn around my hook. Now you can join your yarn in whichever method you prefer. Now this is a method I've seen someone else do where they're just tying it to their hook and then they join with the slip stitch. So I'm going to go right back into that joining stitch where my stitch marker is. Insert your hook, and then I'm going to slip stitch, yarn over, pull through that beginning stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. And you can see how it just makes a nice secure join of that yarn. We're going to chain 1. You're going to insert back into that beginning stitch, work a single crochet. Insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet. And we're just going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Insert into the next stitch. I'm going under both of those top loops, and then I'm crocheting around that extra piece of yarn. Insert into the next stitch, single crochet. So go ahead and work 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 15. I'm over at the end of round 15. I just worked 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and you should have a total of 44 single crochet stitches. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull my hook out, and I'm going to move my stitch marker up to that first stitch. So grab your stitch marker and just move it up to that first stitch of the row we just done. And then we're going to just continue, and we're going to start the next round. So make sure that's nice and snug. Insert into the first stitch, work a single crochet. Insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet. And then don't forget to move your stitch marker up to that first stitch. If you forgot to do it, just count back 2 stitches, 1, 2. Put that stitch marker in, and then we're going to continue and work 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet. single crochet into the next stitch. So go ahead and continue and work 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 16. I'm over at the end of round 16. This is what your work should look like. You should have 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and you will still have a total of 44 single crochet stitches around. So we're back over to our beginning stitch where we have our stitch marker. So now what you want to do is just click back on the video and repeat row 16 5 more times. You're just going to do 5 more rounds of 1 single crochet in each stitch. You're not going to join your rounds, you're just going to start and work 1 single crochet in each stitch around for 5 more rounds, and I'll meet you at the end of round 21. I'm over at the end of round 21. You should have worked 7 rounds of single crochet with 1 single crochet in each stitch around, with a total of 44 single crochet around your work. So now, since we're at the end of round 21, I'm going to zoom up and we're just going to fasten off our pink. We're going to insert right into the first stitch where your stitch marker is, and you're going to slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. I'm going to fasten off my work. I chain 2, pull my hook up, pull the yarn out, grab, pinch, pull down, and it creates a secure knot, and that will be weaved in on the wrong side of our work. So now I'm going to join my white, and we're going to work popcorn stitches around our Santa to form the bottom of his hat. So I'm going to grab my white and I'll be right back and we'll begin. So I have my white yarn attached to my hook. Now you can join your new color in whichever way you prefer. This is just the way I prefer. I'm going to insert into that first joining stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch through the stitch and through the loop on my hook, and this just joins my yarn nice and secure. So now we're going to start the round by making a popcorn stitch, and to make the first popcorn stitch is going to be differently because we need to chain 3 for the first double crochet. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and this counts as the first double crochet. We're going to work 4 more double crochet all into this same stitch. Yarn over, insert back into that same joining stitch, work 4 double crochet. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And all 4 stitches were made into that same joining stitch. You're going to pull up a loop, take your hook out, you're going to return to that beginning chain 3, insert into the top of that beginning chain 3, take your hook around to the back of your work, insert it into that loop that you pulled up, tighten that loop up, take your 2 fingers, pinch that stitch together so it's pointing out towards you, yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook. You're going to chain 1. Your first popcorn stitch is made. So now we're going to continue working around our work. You're going to yarn over, you're going to skip that next stitch, and sometimes you have to pull that stitch back in order to see the next stitch. So yarn over, you skip the next stitch, insert into the next stitch, work 5 double crochet. 1, 2, and we're working all of our stitches into that same stitch. 3, 4, and 5. All 5 stitches are worked into the same stitch. Pull up a loop, Take your hook out. You're going to return to the first double crochet of that 5 double crochet group. Insert your hook under the top 2 loops. Take your hook around the back of your work. Grab that loop that you pulled up. Tighten the loop. Take your 2 fingers. Pinch that stitch together so it's coming out pointing towards you. Yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook. You're going to chain 1, and that is the repeat. So let's do it again. You're going to yarn over, skip the next stitch, insert into the next stitch, and work a 5 double crochet popcorn into the same stitch. So here's our first double crochet. That's 1, 2, 3, and again we're working all the stitches into the same stitch. That's 4 and 5. So we have 5 double crochet all into the same stitch. Pull up a loop, bring your hook back to that first double crochet of that 5 double crochet group, insert under the top 2 loops, take your hook to the back of your work, grab that loop, tighten it up. You're going to pinch your stitch together. You're going to yarn over and slip stitch through all loops on your hook. You're going to chain 1. Again, that is the repeat. So I'll show you one more time and then you can continue on your own. You're going to yarn over, skip the next stitch, insert into the next stitch, work 5 double crochet all into the same stitch. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You're going to pull up a loop, bring your hook back to that first double crochet of that 5 double crochet group, take your hook behind your work, grab that loop, tighten it up, take your 2 fingers, pinch the stitch together so it's coming out towards you, forming a pleat, yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook. You're going to chain 1, and that is the end of the repeat. So go ahead and you're going to repeat that around. You're going to skip the next stitch, popcorn stitch into the next stitch, chain 1. Skip the next stitch, popcorn stitch into the next stitch, chain 1, and you're going to repeat that around. If you need help, just click back on the video, repeat that around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 22. At the end of round 22, I'm just going to pull my hook out. This is what your work should look like, and when you start putting your stitch marker in, I classify this as the back of my work. So when you're working this, when we're joining, we're actually going to use this as the back of our work. So at the end of round 22, you should have a total of 22 popcorn stitches around your work. So when you count them, there'll be 22, and then you'll have 22 chain 1 spaces in between the popcorn stitches. So when you get to the end of the round 22, you're going to have 1 space remaining. You ended with a popcorn stitch, chain 1, 1 stitch remaining. We're going to skip that stitch and we're going to join our round by going right up into the top center of that popcorn stitch. So when you look at your popcorn stitch, you're going to go up to the top, and right in the center here where you pinch those stitches together, you're just going to put your hook right into the center opening and push it out to the back, and we're going to join with a slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. We're going to fasten off round 22. And again, I chain 2 to fasten off. 1, 2, pull up my hook, pull the loop out, grab, pinch, pull down, and it creates a secure knot. So you can use whichever method you prefer. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pull my stitch marker out find it here. And then I'm just going to move it up right into this joining popcorn stitch here that we just joined. So just move that stitch marker up to your joining popcorn stitch, that very first popcorn stitch. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab my red, and then we're going to start Santa's hat. I have my red attached to my hook, and now we're going to start working on Santa's hat. You should have a stitch marker right into that first popcorn stitch. And what we're going to do is we're going to be working right down through the top center of the popcorn stitches. So when you see how the popcorn stitch is pinched together, you're going to put your hook right down through the center top. You're going right down through the center top of each one of those popcorn stitches and taking your hook to the back of your work. So let's begin. I'm going to join my yarn, and again, you can join your yarn in whichever method you prefer. So I'm going to insert into the top of that first popcorn stitch, take my hook all the way to the back, and slip stitch. Yarn over, pull back through that stitch, and pull through the loop on my hook, and it just secures my yarn. I'm going to chain one, insert back into the top of that same popcorn stitch, and work a single crochet. Now we're going to single crochet between our popcorn stitches in this chain one space. So insert under the chain one space and work a single crochet around the chain one space. And that's all we're going to do around the top of our little bag. Insert into the center top of the next popcorn stitch, take your hook to the back, work a single crochet. Single crochet underneath and around the next chain one space. And we're just going to repeat that. Single crochet into the top of the next popcorn stitch, single crochet under and around the next chain one space. So I'll do it one more time, and then you can continue on your own. Insert in the top center of the next popcorn stitch, take your hook to the back, and then work a single crochet. Insert your hook underneath the next chain one space and work a single crochet around that chain one space. And that's all there is to working around the top of Santa's little bag. So single crochet into the top of the next popcorn stitch, single crochet into the next chain one space, repeat that around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 23. I'm over at the end of round 23. This is what my work looks like, and you should have a total of 44 single crochet around the top of the Santa bag or the bottom of his hat. So now we're going to go ahead and we are going to join this round. We're going to come over. Now this is where I attached my yarn, so I want to go over under the top two loops of that first stitch, and then we're going to slip stitch our round together. Now we're going to start round 24. We're going to begin with the chain one. You're going to insert back into that first stitch, work a single crochet. Insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet. I'm going to pull up a loop and just come back and grab my stitch marker. You always want to mark that first stitch, so count back 1, 2, take your stitch marker and move it up to that first stitch of this round. Now we're going to continue and we're going to work one single crochet in each stitch around. Insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet. Insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet. Continue and work one single crochet in each stitch around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 24. I'm over at the end of round 24, and this is what my work looks like. You're going to have a total of 44 single crochet around your work, and we're not going to join. We're going to continue working and marking the first stitch of each round. So our next single crochet would go directly into that first stitch where your stitch marker is. So now what you want to do is you're going to click back on the video and you're going to repeat round 24 12 more times. You're going to work 12 more rounds of one single crochet in each stitch around until you get to the end of round 36. So go ahead, and if you need help, click back on the video, start at the beginning of round 24, repeat that 12 more times, and I'll meet you at the end of round 36. I'm over at the end of round 36. This is what your Santa should look like so far. Now this is the wrong side. When you get to the end of that round 36, you'll be on the wrong side, and then this is the right side. This is where we're going to be putting the face. So now we're going to start round 37, and round 37 is the round that we're going to make to put our drawstring through. So we're going to be working some chain ones and skipping a space. To begin round 37, we're going to go ahead and single crochet into that first stitch where you have your stitch marker, insert into the first stitch, work a single crochet. So I'm just going to pull my stitch marker up right now so I don't forget. And now we're going to start our repeat. Very simple. You're going to chain one, you're going to skip the next stitch, insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet. And that is the end of the repeat. Chain one, skip the next stitch, insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet. And we're just going to continue that around the top of our work. Chain one, skip the next stitch, insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet. I'll show you one more time. You're going to chain one, you're going to skip the next stitch, insert into the next stitch, and work a single crochet. So go ahead and repeat. You're going to chain one, skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next. You're going to repeat that around to the last stitch, and I'll meet you there. I'm over at the end of round 37. You have one stitch remaining. So to end the round, we're going to end with a chain one, and we're going to skip the last stitch. So now we're getting ready to start round 38. In round 38, we're just going to work one single crochet in each stitch and each chain one space around. So let's begin. You already ended the last round with a chain one and skipping that next stitch. So you're going to go right into the next stitch where you have your stitch marker. That's the first stitch of the round. Insert into that stitch, work a single crochet. I'm just going to move my stitch marker up to that first stitch. I like to do it right away so I don't forget, because sometimes I just keep crocheting and then I just forget to move that up. So my first stitch is marked, and then I can just pull my yarn up. Now we're going to single crochet into that next chain one space, single crochet into the next stitch. You're going to insert your hook underneath the chain one space, and then you work your single crochet around that chain one. Insert underneath the chain one, and then work a single crochet around the chain one. Insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet. Insert in the next chain one space, work a single crochet. So go ahead and work one single crochet in each single crochet in each chain one space around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 38. I'm over at the end of round 38. You're going to have a total of 44 single crochet stitches around, and now we just have one round to go. We're going to work one final round of one single crochet in each stitch around. You ended this round with a single crochet into that last chain one space. So now to begin round 39, you're going to insert right into that beginning stitch where you have your stitch marker, work a single crochet. Single crochet into the next stitch. Now I'm just going to move my stitch marker right up back into that first stitch. And then I'm going to continue. Single crochet into the next stitch. Single crochet into the next stitch. So go ahead and continue and work one single crochet in each stitch around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 39. I'm over at the end of round 39. I just got back to the beginning where our stitch marker is, and now we're just going to end the round and slip stitch into that first stitch and fasten off our work. You're going to insert into the beginning stitch where you have your stitch marker, yarn over, pull through that stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. And then I'm just going to fasten off. And again, I like to use a little bit longer length. I chain two, pull my hook up, pull the yarn out, grab the yarn, pinch, pull down, and it creates a secure knot. And when you have that little bit of extra yarn, you can weave it in across your stitches and then back and then across the third time and really secure those stitches. So now since the Santa main part is done, I'm just going to pull my stitch marker out. This is the back of our Santa bag. And then when you flip it over, this is the front, and this is where we're going to put the face on. So now our Santa main part of the bag is done, and all we have to do is make our little applique pieces and sew them on. So let's get started on those. So now I'm getting ready to start the applique pieces, and I'm going to start with Santa's mouth. So you're going to need your red yarn. I already have mine attached to my hook, and you can attach your yarn in whichever way you prefer. We're going to start and we're going to chain two, 1 and 2. We're going to work 4 single crochet into the second chain from hook. So let's begin. You're going to skip the first chain, insert into the second chain, and work 4 single crochet. 1, insert back into that same chain, work your second single crochet, insert back into that same chain, work your third single crochet, insert back into that same chain, work your fourth single crochet. And that's all there is to the mouth. Now this is upside down, but you can see how it curves a little bit for that bottom lip. So now I'm going to fasten off, but before you fasten off, make sure you leave a long enough length for sewing. So it's better to have too much yarn than not enough yarn. So I'd say I left a good probably 10 to 12 inches. And then just fasten off with a chain 2. Pull your hook up, pull your yarn out, grab the yarn, pinch, pull down, and it creates a secure knot. And then this will be Santa's little mouth. So I'm just going to set all my applique pieces aside, and then we'll attach them and sew them on together all at once. So now we're going to start Santa's mustache. So you're going to need your white. I already have mine attached to the hook, and again you can use whichever method you prefer to attach your yarn. And we need to chain 14. Yarn over the hook, pull through the loop on your hook, that creates your first chain. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So that is our base chain for the mustache. So now we're going to start and we're going to work across the top and then across the bottom. So let's begin. We're going to skip the first chain. You're going to insert your hook into the second chain and work a slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that chain, and pull through the loop on your hook. We're going to single crochet into the next chain, insert into that next chain, work a single crochet. Yarn over, insert into the next chain, and you're going to work a half double crochet. Yarn over, pull through that chain. You have 3 loops. Yarn over and pull through. Now we're going to work 3 double crochet into this next chain. Yarn over, insert into that next chain, yarn over and pull through. You have 3 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops only, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. You just made your first double crochet. We need to make 2 more into that same chain. Yarn over, insert back into that same chain, work a double crochet. Yarn over, insert back into that same chain, work a double crochet. And you should have 3 double crochet stitches all into that same chain. Now we're going to work a half double crochet into the next chain, yarn over, insert into that very next chain, yarn over and pull through. You have 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. You just made your half double crochet. Now we're going to work a single crochet into the next chain, insert into that next chain, work a single crochet. And you can see how his mustache is starting to form. We're going to insert into the next chain and slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that stitch and pull through the loop on your hook. Single crochet into the next chain, half double crochet into the next chain, we're going to work 3 double crochet into the next chain. Yarn over, insert into the next chain and work 3 double crochet. There's 1, 2, and 3. And you should have 3 double crochet all into that same stitch. We're going to half double crochet into the next stitch, yarn over, insert into the next stitch, work a half double crochet. Single crochet into the next chain, slip stitch into the last chain. So the top of our mustache is finished, and now we're going to repeat on the bottom of our chain. We're going to chain 1 to help turn the corner to work across the bottom. We're going to go into that very first chain. So when you look at your work, you're going to have that piece of yarn where you ended the chain. So your first chain is right here. Insert into the first chain and slip stitch. I'm just going to hold my end under out of the way. Yarn over, pull through that chain and pull through the loop on your hook. We're going to single crochet into the next chain, half double crochet into the next chain, yarn over, insert into the next chain, work a half double crochet. We're going to work 3 double crochet into the next chain, and it'll be right at the base of those 3 double crochet on the opposite side. So yarn over, insert into that next chain, work 3 double crochet. 1, yarn over, insert back into that same chain, work your second double crochet, yarn over, insert back into that chain, work your third double crochet, yarn over, insert into the next chain, work a half double crochet, insert into the next chain, work a single crochet, insert into the next chain, work a slip stitch. So you can see how his mustache is forming. We have the first half done, and now we're going to continue and finish the other side. Insert into the next chain, work a single crochet, yarn over, insert into the next chain, work a half double crochet, yarn over, insert into the next chain, and work 3 double crochet. There's 1, 2, and 3, and you worked all 3 double crochet into that same chain. Yarn over, insert into the next chain, work a half double crochet, insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet, and right into the very last chain you're going to work a slip stitch. You're going to chain 1, and then we're going to join with the slip stitch into that first slip stitch. So just insert under the top 2 loops of that first beginning slip stitch of the round, yarn over, pull through that stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. I'm going to fasten off. Now remember, when you fasten off, to leave a longer length for sewing, so I'm going to leave about 10 to 12 inches. I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, pull my hook up, pull the yarn out, grab the yarn, pinch, pull down, and it creates a secure knot. So our little mustache is finished, and now you're going to need your pink, and we're going to start the nose. So now we're ready to make our nose for Santa. You need your pink. I already have mine attached to my hook, and I just used a double knot. You can use whichever method you prefer. We're going to begin, and we're going to chain 2. 1 and 2. For round 1, we're going to skip the first chain, insert into the second chain from hook, and work 3 single crochet. There's 1, insert back into that same chain, work a second single crochet, and sometimes it's easier if you try to hang on to that piece of yarn when you started your chain, because it's so tiny to try to hold on to. Insert into that same chain and work your 3rd single crochet. So now I'm just going to take my hook out, and I'm going to come back and count back 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3 to this first single crochet, and I'm just going to put a stitch marker in that stitch. I'm just going to use a piece of yarn because we're only doing 3 rounds. It's going to be a quick little nose, and then insert back into the loop, tighten it up, and then we're going to begin round 2. So we're not going to join, so you're coming all the way over here to this first stitch, and it's better to put a stitch marker in. Count back 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, put that stitch marker in, because you're going to bring your hook all the way back over, and this is tiny, and it's really just a little bit, what I would say, miserable to get this made. So I just try to hold on to it, bring your hook all the way over to that first single crochet where your stitch marker is, insert into that stitch, and you're going to work 2 single crochet. 1, insert back into that same stitch, work your 2nd single crochet. And then I'm just going to take my hook out, I'm going to insert into that first stitch. Just count back 1, 2, and move that stitch marker up to that first stitch. And then insert back in your loop, and then we're going to continue. We're going to insert into the next stitch. Now you want to go under both loops, and it tends to bend down, so make sure you bring your hook from the bottom up and get those 2 loops. Work 2 single crochet into that next stitch. 1 and 2. So we have 1 more stitch to go because we had 3 single crochet into the last round. And what you need to do is, this is going to want to take the right side into the middle. You want to just take your fingers and keep poking that out so the right side is facing and the wrong side is inside. So here is our next stitch, and you want to make sure you get both loops. Insert into that next stitch and work 2 single crochet. 1, insert back into that same stitch and work your second single crochet. And you have a total of 6 single crochet around. And again, the wrong side is facing, it's bending up, and we're going to just turn that inside out. So I just keep pushing it back in the opposite direction. So now we're going to work 1 single crochet in each of the next 6 stitches. Insert into that first stitch, work a single crochet. That's 1. Insert into that next stitch, work a single crochet. That's 2. Insert into the next stitch. Make sure you're getting both loops. Work a single crochet, and that's 3. Insert into the next stitch. Work a single crochet. That's 4. Insert into the next stitch. Work a single crochet. That's 5. Just keep pushing that up so the right side is out and the wrong side is inside. We have 1 stitch to go. Insert into that next stitch, work a single crochet. And now we're just going to fasten off, leaving a sewing length. So make sure you leave about, I'd say 10 inches. I'm just going to chain 2, 1, 2, pull my yarn out, grab the yarn, pinch, pull down, and it creates a secure knot. So now I'm just going to take my stitch marker out. I know it doesn't look like anything right now, but we're just going to gather that and turn it into a nose. So let me grab my yarn needle and I'll be right back and we'll get our nose formed. So I have my nose. Make sure that you turn it right side out and then thread your yarn into your yarn needle, and we're just going to weave in and out through those stitches of round 3. So you have 6 stitches, and we're just going in and out of those stitches. You may have to pull those stitches up. And then once you get around all 6 stitches, now here's the little bit of yarn left over from when I started, so I'm just going to shove it right down inside the nose. And then just take your fingers, hold your nose, and you're going to pull that tight. And do not fasten off. Keep your leftover yarn here because we're going to need that to sew to the face. And then what I do is I just like poke it down to make it a little more rounded, like a berry, and not so pointed. So I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to start sewing on my pieces. So I have my Santa bag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sewing his mouth on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to weave this piece of yarn in and out through the back real quick. And what I do is I just take it through a couple stitches because you're not going to see it and it's going to be sewed. So it's not really that important that you get too precise with worrying about weaving in those ends. And then I just bring it back. And then I'm just going to trim that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring the mouth down right to the top of the white and the bottom of the pink. You want it right here in the middle, and you're just going to put his mouth, the top of his mouth, the flat side, right against the bottom of the pink. You're going to thread that extra yarn onto your yarn needle. And then you can just use everyday whip stitches. Now when you're working on this and sewing it into place, make sure you're only going through the top layer. If it helps, go ahead and put maybe a piece of cardboard inside the bag so you don't catch any stitches on the bottom, because then you're going to have to cut it out and it'll be a mess. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew my mouth in place. And I just kind of hold my fingers there to keep it in place till I get several stitches. And I just use a regular whip stitch or a straight stitch and just sew this right in place. So I'm going to continue and sew my mouth in place. You go ahead and put your mouth on your Santa bag right in the center of the bag, right at the top of the white and at the base of the pink, with the flat side right at the base of that pink row. So I have my mouth attached to my bag, and you just want that curved part towards, you know, the base, and then the flat part across the top. So now I have my mustache, and you have that end where we started. So this is my sewing length here. So I'm going to take my yarn needle and I'm just going to weave this extra piece of yarn in through those back stitches. So just take it under some of those stitches, and then I'm just going to bring it back. And that's why it's nice when you have that little bit longer length. I'm just going to trim that off. And then you're going to flip it over, thread your yarn onto your needle. And then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of bend our mustache down. So let me grab my other one. And we just want it pointing down a little bit. So we're going to sew it right at the center top of the mouth and overlap the mouth and just have it pointing down a little bit. So now you want to take your yarn needle and you want to weave your yarn in over to the center. Now I don't sew the whole mustache. I'm only sewing right around the center to get it to the shape of pointing down, and then I sew it right through the center. So get your yarn over to the center, and you can do that by going right in through the back stitches and then just coming out towards the center, and just bring your needle out in the back. And then we're going to lay the mustache down, and you want to center the mustache so it covers most of the mouth. You don't want it up here where you can see the pink. I hope you can see what I mean. You want to make sure that this part of the mustache is covering that red. So you want to take it all the way down so only a little bit of the red shows through for his mouth. So make sure that's all the way covered. And then I'm just going to sew it in place right at the center. So take it through the top loop only of the bag, and then you're just going to take it right through the center of the mustache. And then just play with it. You're going to sew right in the center. And then you want to kind of bend these down and then tack it in place on each side of the center. So I'm going to go ahead and finish sewing my mustache on, and then I'll be back and we'll attach the nose. So I sewed my mustache on, but I wanted to tell everybody, if you're having trouble securing your ends on the wrong side, then you can go ahead and just turn your bag down in so you can get down inside here to secure that inside of where you sewed your mustache on. So let me secure my end, and then I'll be back and we'll do the nose. So I have my nose, and again, here is where your yarn's coming out at the base where we gathered those stitches. So you just want to gather that, pull it tight, and then I like to push down and make my nose a little bit flatter. And then we're just going to put that nose right in the center of the mustache, and you're going to just sew that in place. So now I'm going to embroider my eyes on. Now you can use the googly eyes if these are not for small children. I suggest not using the googly eyes because if they go to a family and those children would pull those eyes off, they could be a choking hazard. So that's why I'm embroidering mine on. But it's all up to you of what you want to do. Just make sure they're nice and secure. So to make the eyes, I'm just going right up above the part where it curves, and I'm just going to put the eyes right here. So you may have to bend that mustache down just a little bit to get those eyes in there. When I put my eyes on, I use a long enough piece that I can do both eyes without cutting after each eye. So I leave a little bit longer length on the wrong side, about probably 6 or 8 inches, because then that way I can tie my ends together, the starting end to the finishing end, and I can secure that on the back of my work. So I'm just going to take my yarn needle inside the bag, and remember, make sure you're only going through the top thickness, and then you just want to line it up so it's kind of like right above this curve right here. So let me see where I want to be, about right there I believe. I'm going to pull it through, and remember, leave that little bit longer length inside the bag. And then I'm just going to come up and I'm going clear up into the base of this row. So 1, 2, and I'm just going to go right at the top of the second row, but right at the base of that, and see if I like it. Now because this is not tied, I can change it if I wish. So I think, okay, that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to come out at the bottom where I first come out. I'm going to come out in the same spot. And again, this end isn't tied, so let me tighten that back up and then pull it through. I'm just going to pull it out through the top so I know I have a long enough length and it doesn't get mixed up. And then I'm going to do it a second time and go right back into that same spot. And then I'm just going to take a look at it and see if I like it. Does the eye look like it's big enough? No. So I'm going to just do it one more time and make that eye just a little bit wider. So I'm going to come back down and I'm going to come right back out of the same spot. I'm going in the same spot, in and out. And then I'm going to come up. You may have to keep pulling on that end of the yarn to tighten them up. And then I'm going to come out again. And you can play with this until you get it exactly where you like it. So I think I like that. I think that eye looks pretty good for Santa. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm going right back in and I'm going to follow this eye down in the same row. You can see where this eye started at the bottom. Just follow it down till you think you're about in the middle or wherever you want to be. Yes, I think I'll start there. And then I won't pull it real tight because I want to see if I like where it is. And if you don't like where it is, then just pull it right back out. And then again, I'm only going up 2 rows and then pulling it through. And then you can see, well, does that look nice? Does that look like it's in the right spot? Now that looks like I went up too high. So all you have to do is just pull that right back out. And again, you have to play around with it and just do it until you get the eyes in the position you want. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my second eye and try to match it up with the first and do it 3 times and make it the same thickness. And then I'm going to secure it on the back, inside back of the hat. And again, if you need to, you can fold this hat down so you can get into the back of the hat. So let me finish my eye and then I'll be back, and then we're going to make our drawstring and we're going to make our 2 little holly leaves and berries for the hat. So now we're going to make the drawstring, and you're going to need your red yarn. So to make the drawstring, it's very simple. We're just going to make a chain with 60 chains. So I already attached my yarn to my hook and I used a double knot. You can use whichever method you prefer. You're going to yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook, and that creates your first chain. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Continue until you have a chain with 60 chains, and then I'll be back and we'll fasten off and we'll weave in our ends. I'm back. I have my 60 chains, so now I'm just going to fasten off. And again, make sure you leave just enough length that you can maneuver that yarn needle around. And then I'm just going to yarn over, pull through, tighten that up, make a knot. And then I'm going to take my yarn needle, and you're just going to weave the ends in on the back of your chain. So this is the front of your chain, this is the back of your chain. So I'm just going right in and out through these back bumps of my chain. I go through quite a few stitches. I like it to be really weaved in good. Pull that end through. And then I'm just going to turn it over and come back through those back bumps just to secure that a second time. Just weave it in and out through those chains. And then I'm just going to fasten off. And you're just going to repeat to the other end. So go ahead and weave in your other end, and I'll be back and I'll show you how to weave it in through the top of your bag. So I'm back. I have my drawstring, my ends are weaved in, and it's all ready to weave in. So this is our bag, this is the front of our bag, and we're just going to flip it over to the back side. So this is where I fastened off. I still have to weave that in, but you're going to count down 3 rounds. 1, 2, 3, and you're going to see the round where you have the chain 1 spaces. I hope that shows up. So you'll see those chain 1 spaces. So I'm going to lay it out and try to find the center of the bag. So I'm going to say about right here. I'm going to insert into that chain 1 space, and you can just do this with your fingers, or you can use your crochet hook and put it into the next chain 1 space. Pull that chain through. I just think it's just as easy to use my fingers. And then you're going to find your next chain 1 space, insert into the chain 1 space going towards the center, and then you're going to take it from the inside of the bag and bring it out through the next chain 1 space. I hope I was watching myself and not watching the monitor, so I hope you've seen what I was doing. So now I'm bringing it out through the next chain 1 space. Find your next chain 1 space, and then you're going to take it from the outside to the inside through the next chain 1 space. And then from the inside of the bag, you're going to come from the inside to the outside through the next chain 1 space. I hope that's making sense to you. And you're just going to repeat doing that around the top of your bag. When your string is coming out to the outside of your work, you're going to find your next chain 1 space and insert it and pull it to the inside of the bag. And then when it's on the inside of the bag, you're going to find your next chain 1 space and then poke it through to the outside of the bag. And this helps gather the bag and pull it closed. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat that around the top of my bag, and when I get done, I'll be right back and show you how to finish weaving it in. So I weaved in my drawstring, and you'll see this end is really short and this end is really long. This one's on the outside, this one's on the inside. So I want to bring this long piece, and I'm going to bring it right out through the same space as I inserted this one. So they're both in the same chain 1 space. So I'm just going to poke that through that same chain 1 space. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull and play around with this until I get them even. So you're going to have to pull, and then you're going to have to straighten it up, see how they are. This one's still too short. So then I'm just going to pull it a little bit more and then straighten it. Now this one, Well, that looks pretty good there. So now our drawstring is all ready to pull it tight, so you can just pull it and tie it in a bow when you're ready, but I'm not ready yet, so I'm just going to open that back up. So now I'm going to go ahead and weave this end in on the inside, on the wrong side of my bag, and then I'll be back and we're going to make our little holly leaves and our little holly berry for his hat as a decoration. And then we're going to put a pom-pom on the top of his hat, so when you draw this bag together, it'll gather and then you'll have his little pom-pom at the top. So let me grab my green yarn and I'll be back and we'll get our little holly leaf started. So now we're getting ready to make our little holly leaf. We need to make two, so I'm going to show you how to make the first one, and then you can just click back on the video and redo it and make your second leaf. So you're going to need your green. So I have my green already attached to my hook with a double knot, and again, you can use your own method of attaching your yarn. We're going to begin with the chain 6. Yarn over, pull through, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to slip stitch into the third chain from the hook. So we're going to skip 1, 2 chains, insert into the third, and slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that chain, and pull through the loop on your hook. We're going to single crochet into the next chain, insert into that chain, work a single crochet. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to slip stitch into the top of that last single crochet made. So count down 1, 2, 3, insert into the front loop only, and slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that loop, and pull through the loop on your hook. You're going to insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to slip stitch into the top of the last single crochet made. So you're going to count down 1, 2, 3, insert back into the front loop only of that last single crochet made, and slip stitch. And you can see how the side of your leaf is forming. Now we're going to work 4 half double crochet into this last chain. Yarn over, insert into the last chain, work 4 half double crochet. Yarn over, pull through that chain. You have 3 loops. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. You just made your first half double crochet. We need to do that 3 more times into that same chain. Yarn over, insert into that same chain, work your second half double crochet. Yarn over, insert back into that same chain, work your third half double crochet. Yarn over, insert back into that same chain, and work your fourth half double crochet. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. You're going to count back 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, insert into the front loop only of the last half double crochet made, and slip stitch. Now we're going to be working on the bottom chain. We're going to single crochet into the next chain, insert into that next chain, and just look at your stitches and you'll see here is a stitch. Just follow it down and that's where your chain is. Insert into the next chain and work that single crochet. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Count back 3 chains, insert into the front loop of that last single crochet made, and slip stitch. You're going to skip the remaining chains and you're going to join with the slip stitch underneath that beginning slip stitch. So here's our beginning slip stitch. Just insert your hook right there at the base of that slip stitch and slip stitch your round together. Yarn over, pull through that space, and pull through the loop on your hook. And you can see how our little leaf is made. So I'm just going to fasten off, and again, make sure you leave a longer length for sewing. And then I like to chain 2. 1, 2, pull my hook up, pull the yarn out, grab the yarn, pinch, and pull down. And this is our little holly leaf. This is the top point, and then you have your 2 little side points. So I'm going to take my short end, this small end, and I'm just going to weave it on the back side and then leave the longer length for sewing. So go ahead and click back on the video and repeat and make your second leaf. When I get mine done, I'll be back, and we have to make our little berry yet, and then we'll attach them to the hat. So I have my 2 leaves made, and where you fastened off, this will be the top of your leaf, and the 4 half double crochet is the base. So I have both my leaves done, so I'm going to set them aside, grab my red, and now we're going to make our holly berry. To make our holly berry, you're going to need your red, and I already have mine attached to the hook. So to make the berry, we're going to begin, and we're going to chain 2. Yarn over, pull through, that's 1 and 2. We're going to work 5 single crochet into that second chain from hook. Skip the first chain, insert into the second chain, work 5 single crochet. There's 1. Insert back into that same chain, work your second single crochet, insert back into that same chain, work your third single crochet, and again it's a little hard to work with because it's so tiny. Insert into that same chain, work your 4th single crochet, insert into that same chain, and work your 5th single crochet. And what it does is just form a mini circle. You're going to go ahead and fasten off. Now please make sure you leave enough yarn to maneuver because we're going to gather it. So I like to leave at least a 10 to 12 inch length because you can always trim it. So now we're just going to fasten off, and I just chain 2, 1, 2, pull my hook up, pull the yarn out, grab the yarn, pinch, pull down, and it creates a secure knot. So now you're going to take your yarn needle and you're just going to weave it onto that long sewing length. And then we're going to weave in and out of the 5 stitches. So you're just going in, and then make sure you're pulling it so the right side is always on the outside. So if it starts pulling to where the outside, the wrong side is showing, make sure you use your fingers and flip that back. Just weave it in and out through the top of those 5 stitches. And again, it's really tiny to work with. So I just weave through those stitches. Now what I'm going to do is, I know that it's going to want to gather the wrong way. So just take your fingers and pull it towards the center with the right side out, pinch, and then pull. And then just pull it. And you can see how it tries to form that little berry, and you'll have a hole in the middle. Once you gather it, you're going to just secure it by going through the bottom, grabbing those stitches, and then you're going to do it again. And when you look at it, you can see it looks like a little berry. And then I'm just going to take my yarn needle and weave this right down through and clip it off. But make sure you leave your long sewing length. So let me fasten off this little smidgen of yarn, and then I'll be back and we'll sew our leaves and our berry onto Santa's hat. So here is our Santa bag so far. So now we're going to attach our leaves. So again, where you fastened off, This is going to be the top of the leaf. This is going to be the bottom. So you can put them anywhere on Santa's hat that you wish. Now I put mine on the left side. You can put yours on the left side. You can put it on the right side. It's all up to you of where you want to put them. So I'm just going to put mine over here, and I like to put it like right here at the base of the red and the top of the white. So what I like to do is I kind of angle them almost like in a V shape, and I overlap it a little bit. So that's about what I do. And then you're going to sew them in place. Now this isn't staying in place because it's not sewed down. So I put both my leaves there, and then I'll take my little red berry. After you sew your leaves in place, take your red berry and place it right at the base of those, right in the center, and you're going to sew that in place. So go ahead and sew your leaves and berries in place, and then I'll be back and we'll finish by attaching our pom-pom. I'm back. I sewed my leaves and my little holly berry to the center of the leaves. I attached my pom-pom. Now I made just a little pom-pom. This measures about 2 inches. I had to keep cutting it down because it was too big, so I cut it down to 2 inches. So I just attached it right at the very top in that top row. And then when you take your drawstrings, after you fill your bag of goodies, then just flip it over, gather your bag after you fill it, and then you can just tie it in a bow. And when you flip it over, you have your little Santa bag. I just thought it was a fun way if you have friends and family and you just want to give them that really cute homemade gift filled with some nice goodies, maybe a cookie mix and a wooden spoon, or maybe fill it up with their favorite candy bars, or maybe some favorite soap and some hand crocheted washcloths, or maybe a bottle of dish detergent with some of those handmade dishcloths. So many different possibilities to fill this little Santa. And it's also, if you know someone in a nursing home or someplace where maybe they don't get a lot of visitors, wouldn't this be wonderful to pass out to people in a nursing home? Just give them a wonderful treat for Christmas and just bring the joy of Christmas to someone who's not expecting it. So thank you everybody for stopping by today. I hope you had fun learning how to make the Secret Santa bag. And until next time, stay inspired and happy crocheting.